And we are live. We are live. Hello, everyone. This is DebraSue with Toledo to the World. So happy to welcome each of you back to another week of a great edition. I have a wonderful guest that I have on today. But before I do that, I want to thank all my listeners for tuning in. I want to thank you, Facebook. I want to thank you, Instagram. I want to thank you, Roku. I want to thank you, YouTube, and viewers on other platforms who have tuned in and who have supported DebraSue Toledo to the World. I appreciate all of you guys. So today we have a really interesting topic that I basically this is for you, Toledo. This is for you, Toledo. We have an issue coming up regarding metro parks. I thought it was really, really important to bring it to your attention because some of you, number one, don't even know we have an issue at hand. And when I say issue, I'm talking about a voting issue, okay? And it's called Issue 8. Let's talk about what this is. But before we do that, let me introduce my wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guest today. He's a friend of mine, and he's a very important person in Toledo. I just had to bring him on because he's entertaining and he's just full of knowledge, everybody. And so, Matt Killam, welcome to my stage.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Thanks for saying full of knowledge. That's usually not how you end that sentence, so I appreciate the vote
Listen,
of confidence.
we said we're gonna be nice. We clown a lot, but we're gonna be nice today. That's what we do.
That's right.
Okay, right?
Yep,
Okay. So Matt, first of all, before we hop into what issue 8 is all about, let's talk a little bit about you. Let's talk about your journey on becoming as involved with the metro parks and the position that you hold today.
sure. Yeah, thanks for having me. And thanks for what you do every day for our community. I guess I have kind of an unusual story from a park perspective, but I'll start with saying that I'm a Toledo native. I grew up by the Toledo Hospital. I went to Central Catholic for high school. I went away to school and I didn't plan on coming back to Toledo, but I didn't plan on not either. Candidly, I didn't really know. To say that I had a plan would be a lie. But by a bunch of circumstances, I ended up moving back home and found my way into the Toledo Metro Parks. And we, as a kid growing up, we didn't camp or I've never shot anything in my life. I only know about what kind of trees are in our neighborhood when a colleague of mine who's smarter than I am tells me about them. So that was not part of my growing up, but I did grow up playing in open, well-maintained green spaces with people who I love, some of which aren't with me anymore. And it was never lost on me that the parks or green spaces are meant to be and for everyone. So in terms of how I got to have this job, in many ways, it's a dream come true to not only be able to participate in something that I care about so much, but in a community I care about, right? So I've got little girls and they now play in the parks that I played in. And in order to be a chapter in this long story is incredibly validating. And, you get to plug in with the communities you care about and listen to what people want. And then usually we are able to deliver on that and then get to see them using it. I don't have a lot of crappy days, but when I do, there's a playground probably within 1,000 yards of wherever I'm working that day. And that is rejuvenating, to say the very least. So I
Mm-hmm.
started with the Metro Parks 8 years ago, and although my job has changed pretty significantly, I was Metro Parks marketing director, and now I'm the chief of external affairs. So I work in marketing, communications. I do a lot of our government relations work, but I'm basically also just in community. So I get to have a hands-on approach and boots on the ground, and just as importantly, put an ear to our constituents. We're county-wide, so we serve about 420,000 people, and that is from Grand Rapids, Ohio, all the way out to Jerusalem Township and everyone in between. And there's a lot of difference between the people in Jerusalem Township and all the way out Providence potentially. But I'll tell you one thing that is true is there is a value brought to people's lives by having green space be available to them that's clean, safe, and natural. So I used to own a couple bars in Chicago. And that was at that time a dream come true. At least I thought it was. So admittedly, I'm
Yeah.
kind of an unusual fit for a park system, but I can tell you what, it's a dream come true, and I'm proud to be able to do it on a daily basis.
Do you feel, because you have a heck of a responsibility, what do you see as your biggest challenge? Because you have an awfully big footprint, meaning you cover an awful lot of territory. You're responsible for an awful lot of people's happinesses, if you will.
Yeah.
What's the biggest challenge that you find being in charge of something this important to the community?
Well, I work with 225 exceptional people, so it certainly isn't just me, and that should be a relief to all of you, including you, Deb, to know that it's not squarely on my shoulders. So I get to work with brilliant people, and if I can speak candidly with you, when people ask what it's like to work at the Metro Parks, I tell them, well, there's 225 people there, and I like 200 of them, and of the 25 jerks actually do care about people enjoying the parks they work at. So
Hmm.
I'm really blessed in that way. But the challenges are probably not terribly unique in terms of other people's challenges, right? The slight deviation for me is, we can't do everything, and we provide opportunities for people to do stuff in the outdoors and open a gate in the morning. Like we don't have fences; we have like a gate that goes over like a driveway, which you can
Sure.
walk around if you want to.
Exactly.
So, we've got, we can't do everything, and that is our nature, right? No pun
Mhm.
intended. Is we want people to get exactly what they want because we're the stewards of their dollars too. So we're accountable. So not being able to be everywhere all the time, right? And also, I think it's kind of interesting is there is a natural and healthy conflict between our mission. And what I mean by that is, of all the things we do, and we're going to talk about some of them tonight, uh, we do really two basic things. One, we are in charge of maintaining globally significant and rare ecological spaces in Northwest Ohio. We are this chapter's stewards of that, and that's tremendously important. The second thing we do is we connect human beings to this green space, right? Um, and the challenge between the two things is they don't always mesh, right? So we want to preserve and maintain. So we don't want people necessarily trampling on that space, but we want people to care about it. So we are constantly a push and pull of conservation, revitalization, and maintenance, and making sure people have access to enjoy their lives in potentially a way they hadn't thought of before. So that's a challenge, although it's a thrilling one, right?
Mhm.
We've got we've had 21 million visits since 2017, and again, that's for a county that's of about 420,000 people and a city that's about 268,000 people in that range. So we are really heavily used. So our methodology is certainly working, right? But with that success does come, a challenge, right? Because we've seen a 62% increase of just Lucas County residents usage, which is awesome. Uh,
Right.
but you got to keep your game up, right? You're only good as the last guest experience. So we've won a ton of awards, both state and nationally. But man, awards gather dust, right? You were only the best of something probably for that year, and then somebody else gets it the next year.
For sure.
The difference between what we do and others is that if you're the best at what we do, we can say that we made your air more breathable, your water drinkable, and we for sure made play spaces more accessible to the kids that live in our community because we completed a promise in 2020 to have a metro park within 5 miles of every Lucas County resident. So
Hmm.
that's a promise. We've been around for 100 years, but Deb, to be honest, before we opened Manhattan Marsh, we only really served the western suburbs
Hmm.
of Lucas County. That's not a criticism, right? That's just how it was at the time.
Right.
But we took everybody's money, right? And we do talk about access. And part of access is geography, proximity, right? There's a lot of barriers in people's lives.
Hmm.
And one of the things that is certainly a barrier is being able to get to something.
Sure.
So, having that space within, striking distance of people is important. But those are just trophies and awards. If you don't continue to ask, how can we do this better? Or are we serving the people who we are lucky enough to steward their hard-earned dollars? So,
Yeah, you know, I'm a resident, grown, homegrown here, and I
yep,
have noticed that the tremendous amount of growth with regard to parks, and like you said, you have an ambition to have a park within a 5 mile, radius of every neighborhood. And I see that happening. I do. And I think, we as a community, we really do not give our parks enough credit for giving us green space, clean space. And I'm loving what I'm seeing downtown off the
good,
water. We're opening up our waterway, which means we're opening up our city. Folks
100%.
are traveling the waterway to get to our city, and that's a wonderful thing. And speaking of that, do we have anything in the pipeline that Toledo should know about with regard to parks?
Yeah. So again, we opened up Manhattan Marsh, which is probably a mile north of your shop, on right just short of sort of Point Place or Detweiler there. So that completed that promise. The downtown project is certainly noteworthy, and there's a lot of stuff to update you on this call or on this interview about that. But I'd be remiss not to make mention of some anniversaries and celebrations, right? So
Sure.
we've got a treehouse village that's in Swanton, and I didn't spend a lot of time in Swanton when I was a kid. Candidly, I flew out of the Toledo airport a few times, so that was my trip to Swanton. But Oak Openings is out there, and again, that's that geologically important, globally recognized space that we get to steward. We put a treehouse village out there 5 years ago and opened it. It's been sold out every day since. So that is the largest publicly operated treehouse village in the United States, right here in Toledo, Ohio. So that's incredible. It is rented out, so you do pay to stay Tuesday through Sunday, but Mondays and Tuesdays are held back to be free community days. So the Metro Parks build stuff for access, right? And there's several things like we talked about that are barriers to access. Some of it is hardscape, right? Fences and I don't know, topography, although you and I both know the biggest hill in Toledo, Ohio is a highway overpass. But that there are hard barriers, and then there's socioeconomic. So we wanted to make sure that people had access to the Treehouse Village, and that could mean that $1 made that cost prohibitive. So those are free Mondays and Tuesdays, as long as you fit a criteria for having a community outreach portion of whatever you do. So the Girls and Boys Club, the kid with perfect attendance at DeVoe Junior High could go. So that's exciting and open, and that's celebrating his 5th birthday. Wildwood, if you can imagine, is going to be 50 here in short order. So celebrating things that are old and new are of equal relevance, right? It isn't always about the future, as you know, and I know. A lot of the great things we have today is because we get to stand on the shoulders of people who were here before us. So that is new and old. We have opened up the downtown park, which I'm proud to say that I know that you and your mom visited and are part of the 1 million visitors that have been to that space. So if you and I would have gone to a group of people 10 years ago and said, we're going to build an ice skating ribbon on the east side of Toledo and build a giant splash pad there, and we're going to have a $50 million apartment complex built, we would have been laughed out of the room, right? Because one thing Toledo is really good at is saying what we are not, right? Or saying why we can't do things. But lo and behold, a community gets together, stands shoulder to shoulder. We can do almost anything. And that park is proof of that, right? So
Exactly.
1 million visitors have been to that space that before was all industrial legacy, right? There's nothing to do there. And if you were there, you're probably doing something unlawful.
Right.
Those days are gone, right? And this is a park. If you build it, they will come is from a movie, right? But if you build it based on what people said they wanted, and you invite them over and over and over again, that's how you get 1 million visits. That's how you get people engaged. And I know that you have played an integral role of community outreach, making sure not only that is available to people, but candidly holding us accountable to what was said. So that giant splash pad at Glass City is a result of just that. We heard we want swimming at every single meeting. Well, we don't do swimming, right?
Mhm.
But we owe the people who said they wanted swimming something, right?
Mhm.
So our solve for that
Right.
was that splash pad. And one thing I'll only admit on this interview is our dark secret is that splash pad is built like an exact replica of the Maumee watershed. So kids are playing, and again, don't tell any of them, but they're actually also probably learning about
Mhm.
where their water comes from, right?
That's
We had a
right.
water crisis 10 years ago, 10
Mhm.
years ago this last August. And based on the immediacy of our culture, it's all but forgotten, right? Well,
Yeah.
that can happen again. And it's not a political statement, right? Algal balloons are a real thing, but we want people to know how these things happen. And nobody learns from people they don't like, and they don't learn from having their hand slapped. But you do learn from experiences that you enjoyed, and you do learn
Mhm.
from people you
Absolutely.
trust. And that's how the play or reinventing or relearning play is a conduit for a better way of living in Northwest Ohio. So those are new things. We've got more on the horizon. I know you want to talk a little bit about that, and I'm happy to do it. But the downtown plan is a 300-acre green space that wraps around our entire river from the Martin Luther King Bridge from the Anthony Wayne Bridge, the Martin Luther King Bridge, the Craig Bridge, jump over to the east side, and from the Craig Bridge, Martin Luther King Bridge to the Anthony Wayne Bridge. We used to see the river as sort of a divider, right? But now it's
Mhm.
a convener. And green space and a trail system are going to reconnect our downtown, which before I think used to think of as being like a 4 square block radius. We
Sure.
get to decide what downtown is, the people that live
Mhm.
in this town. And it can be wherever we say. And we can rethink about how to activate that space. Our kids get to decide where they
Right.
want to hear music or fish or play. That is for tomorrow. And we are doing the work
Mhm.
today to make sure the next million visits are exactly what the neighborhoods that surround that deserve. And I'm talking about neighborhoods like Garfield,
Yeah.
Birmingham, Vistula, all places that we have not been back to support in quite some time. But we're coming
Mhm.
back, and it was made better by a community plan, a community effort, and finally people saying, not only should we do this, we can do it, and the people deserve it. There's 35,000 people that live around that park, right?
Mhm.
And they deserve well-maintained public green spaces,
That's right.
and it's coming.
How do you guys determine, let's just say when we talk about having a million visitors downtown at the park or Front Street Park, how do you determine how many visitors have come through?
Yeah, so this creeps my dad out. So if you see him, don't tell him. But we get it from cell phone data. So we purchase cell phone data. Now I don't know, I don't know that you and your mom have been at Glass City, but I know that someone from your zip code has visited, and I know approximately how long you stayed.
Okay.
So it's collected from 5 or 6 apps that people generally have or use. So when
Yeah.
your data is on, it registers as a visit. So
Yeah.
that's how we were able to track it.
That's absolutely amazing. I
Yeah.
never would have thought of that, but that's absolutely amazing. It's also super, super important for you to realize that none of this is free for free, guys.
Yeah.
We canvass the neighborhood, we talk to neighbors and kids for what you all want to see, and then we have to implement that.
That's
But
right.
talk about that because these things have to be paid for, and we may get some things, we may not get other things, and so Matt would love to do everything that you ask. So the next time your area is canvas for what you want to see at a park, that's what I wanted to say. Make sure you get involved. Everybody knows that I always talk about get involved. Everybody get
Yeah.
involved. If you want to see things in your area, if you want to see things at a park, if you want to bring a park near you, you have to get involved, know what's coming to your area so you can have your say for what you'd like to see. And I love the background. I love to talk about the parks. I love to talk about you and your job because you're a phenomenal person. I love you to death. But let's talk about issue 8 because a lot of
Yeah.
people do not know what this issue 8 situation is. Let's tell me, give me your take on it.
Yeah, sure. So issue 8 is our issue number. So we're on the ballot May 6th, although early voting is open now. It is our operating levy. So it's 1.4 mils that is distributed or paid from property tax. So this tax was originally put on in 2007, renewed in 2017, and what we're asking to do is replace it here in 2025. Renewal and replacement, I don't know if that's commonly known. It wasn't to me before I started working at the Metro Park. So I'll explain that for just a second because it would have helped me.
Sure.
A renewal is just a straight keeping everything the same.
Mhm.
The ballot initiatives, this one runs for 10 years. So essentially what we're saying is we are operating on the same income as we did in 2007.
Wow.
The millage or this levy is our operating money, and what that means is it's not project specific. It is our everyday money to keep clean, safe, and natural 7 days a week. Again, from Providence in Grand Rapids, Ohio, all the way out to Jerusalem Township and every park in between. So,
Okay.
if you have a favorite park or the park within 5 miles of your doorstep, this money goes into the daily operations of that. So, keeping the bathrooms clean. Keeping all the amenities to the high standards that people have come to expect at the Metro Park and frankly deserve. Plays for kids camps, plays for replacement for swing sets and things of that variety. So it's like our everyday money. It is how we function as an organization. So everyone knows that the property evaluations are back. We are not in charge of property evaluations. We did not anticipate or know that they were going to be certainly as challenging as they've been for the masses. So by no means do we want to sound tone deaf here. We're asking to replace this 20-year-old money again to keep up the standards. Our usage is up, and we want people to get what they deserve. The increase is not nothing. It's $1.60 a month per $100,000 house, and will be about $50 annually total. So it is $1.60 increase monthly. I can't. Again, I'm not saying that's not nothing, but I do think an institution that's brought in $100 million of state and federal money
Sure.
to the park system. We've seen almost $400 million worth of economic development around the downtown project, and other components of the park system have increased the economic development almost to every park. Around it, I should say. So, again, we don't want to sound tone deaf, but we do think the value is there. Why we're going on May is even more complicated. So, there's a House bill that's coming down, and it looks like it's going to pass this summer or is going to pass, and that would take away our ability to go on using the word replacement. Why that's important to us as an institution is twofold. One is we promised that we would never ask for new money again. So when this House bill is executed, that means they would have to call it new money, right?
Right.
And our promise when we asked for new money to build the downtown park was that we'd be on straight renewal and straight replacement for the next 25 years. The only reason why that tops out like that is just because that's how long our financial forecast.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens in the 26th year. I assume that's fine also, but that's literally as far as the Excel spreadsheet goes out. So we are an institution that has been here for almost 100 years that does exactly what it says it's going to do and nothing else, and keeps its promises. And we promised we wouldn't do that. It's not a political statement, right, to say that this is not new money. Is it more money? It's more money, right?
Sure.
This is not wordplay. It's not a word salad. We're asking for an increase in replacement of 20-year-old money to make sure that we are delivering high standards and, frankly, revitalizing the downtown the way that we deserve. So that is
Sure.
That's important to us. Also, our cynics, when we passed the levy to do the downtown project, said they're going to come ask us to bail them out because they won't have planned for this properly. So another component of this that just isn't palatable to us is we are not asking to be bailed out. The downtown project, despite inflation increasing exponentially as it is in everyone's homes, and the top of a giant gift having to be rescinded, which we get, right? We are still going to deliver that project, and it's still on pace to do exactly as we said it would. So we are able to execute things on a very high level with community partners, certainly, but we keep our promises and we do what we say. So in order to have someone else take our ability away to keep our promise just doesn't work for us. So
Yeah.
we're asking Lucas County residents to think about the value proposition of $1.60 more a month, which again isn't nothing, but the return I hope they can see is exponential.
Well, you know what? Let me break this down for my listeners.
Okay.
Okay. The parks hasn't had this type of what they're asking for this small fee. They're working off 2017 home valuations, right? 2017 people.
2007.
2000. Oh my goodness. Okay, 2007. That's even worse. Okay, but but yet and still, we have had more visitors come through these parks. We have had more usage of it. Think about COVID, you guys. How many of you guys went out to the parks because we couldn't go anywhere else? Let's face it, right? We went to parks to enjoy one another, to enjoy outside, to enjoy activities. Even now, we have the water park with the kids. We are doing things, and these people are still working off a 2007 situation here. And it's not right that we don't vote for this. If you don't vote, then don't go to the parks. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it like it is, okay? If you don't vote for it, we vote for the zoo. We vote for all the things that all those amenities that we enjoy, right? And so if you have an issue not voting for issue 8, then don't use the amenities. $1 extra a month, $2 extra a month per household in Toledo is not a great deal to ask, especially if we use these amenities. It's just not fair not to do this, folks. So, I'm highly encouraging that, if you do anything, you absolutely have to go out and you have to go out and vote for this because it's just so necessary. They are giving us services. They patrol our parks at night. They look out for us. Even when you guys are out jogging, they're running their little vehicles through to make sure we have safety. It's just so much more that Matt is not talking about that you all know that they do for us. They clean up. For those of you who don't clean up after yourselves at the barbecue, slots, you know who I'm talking to. They go out there and they clean all of that up.
I have a list of names that read off.
He's got names, people, so he's calling them. So then, Matt, let me ask you this other question because it's just so important to me.
Sure.
Why is it, and this is a political question, which I know you can't really talk on that too much, but why are we having this issue presented, I want to call it out of season? Why is this just coming up mid-season, if you will?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I can't speak to the House bill, meaning that was something that I think was put forth by an individual that lives in southern part of the state. That it obviously will affect the state as a whole. So that has been around surfacing for at least a year, maybe a little more. And it looks like it's actually going to pass here, like I said, this summer. And I can't speak to the complexity of the political state, Republican, Democrat. For us, why in May, is again just to be able to complete to keep our promise. Deb, I will tell you, I guess something that is marginally political, so I'll go out on a bit of a limb here, is Northwest Ohio and Toledo should start making decisions in the best interest of Toledo and not leaving it to anywhere else USA, right?
Absolutely.
And that's indiscriminate of whoever's in office, political parties aside. We should try to be in the driver's seat of the decisions that are made here. Our money gets sent out all over the state, right? And I'm not saying it shouldn't. People from Akron should get the benefit of people from Toledo supporting them. But I think it's been a long, long time that we were in the driver's seat, both state and federally, the way we potentially deserve, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess my political statement is here, no matter how you vote on a national and state level, not on an issue level, because I certainly have an opinion how you should vote for issue 8, which I hope that you'll consider. But let's keep the decisions here. This is a House bill from another part of the state. This is an amenity in a part of our life that gets tens of millions of visitors since 2017. This is a big part of who we are. We talk a lot about who we aren't. We talk about wanting to be more like LA or Chicago or Miami. This is who we are. We are the walleye capital of the world. We are the birding capital of the world. And the Metro Parks is the best park system in the United States. I'm not saying that. The National Park and Recreation Association said that. So let's do what we do. We do this better than anyone else. We built the Jeep. We don't let Tucson, Arizona talk about the Jeep. So let's do this right. Fresh water is going to be the next commodity from here on out. And people are going to want to live or need to live by it. So let's build the palace here, right?
Absolutely.
And let our kids benefit from it. So
Right.
keep your decision here. I guess that's my political statement.
Yeah.
Your dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt can't speak on it politically, but I can. I can definitely speak on it politically. And Matt is not here for that. He's just here to to talk about parks and the importance of our parks. I did look up a couple of statistics that we have here. It said that Metro Parks has a history of fiscal responsibility, successfully securing 100 million in grants over the past decade. So it demonstrates your ability to leverage funds, obviously, effectively, I should say, ensuring that our tax dollars are maximized for community benefit. Economic impact and benefits. The park contributes significantly to the local economy, generating approximately $59 million in direct visitors. So we didn't talk about that, but we did almost $60 million annually in direct visitor spending annually. So when people come here, they go down off the water. It's so many things that we do. People come here and they spend the night in the hotels, the outskirts,
Right.
what we call outliers, right? They come, they bring money to the city. And this is because people want to come and enjoy the parks. Speaking of the one that you have, the little houses for rent, and instead of people going out of town to an Airbnb and getting out of the city, you can go to the park and do that.
Right.
We rented a cabana downtown for I guess 6 or 7 hours, and the kids could skate, and we had our own little private balcony.
Your name is on my list of people who trashed it and didn't clean up.
Wait a minute.
Say that. I don't know if it's say that here.
No way.
You're on the list.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that afterwards. But anyway, but my point is that we have all of the amenities that are a minimal financial increase, dollars. Honestly, guys, it's not even 25 cents a day. Actually, it's such a minimal increase to taxpayers that it's just so worth us doing this. And what we're doing right now is just taking a proactive approach to make sure that we have a sustainability situation here. We want to care for the parks. The parks are expanding. They are expanding, and not necessarily expanding employment and employees, but they have employees that are even trying to care for a larger amount of green space for us. So it's very, very important that you know what issue 8 is about, that you understand that this is a very minimal thing that we can do to ensure that our parks are here for year and that they're taken care of. More importantly, that they're taken care of and that we can continue to grow them and that we can continue to enjoy them.
Yeah, it's it's an honor to do it.
Did I say it right, Matt?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, well, it's an honor to do it on all of your behalf. Like you said, part of the downtown project specifically was a derivative of Hickory Farms moving on to Toledo. They said they just couldn't compete nationally and have their headquarters here. They couldn't recruit talent to come here, and people pick places to live based on outdoor recreation more and more every generation. So we want to compete. We're building a downtown in order to compete, right? And I know that federal and state tax dollars are also our grants are also tax dollars, but that money used to go to Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and that was a wrap. Or it used to go to all over the country, right? Our projects created by all of us, but stewarded by the Metro Parks, are bringing those dollars here, right? It is your money, right? And I'm not saying that those other places don't deserve support, but we're overdue. Vistula is our first neighborhood. And if you've been down by Water Street, there is exposed cobblestone from a time gone by. So it's time to reinvest. And we are making it better collectively. That's not a campaign slogan. That's not trite. The Metro Parks has good ideas, but it was not our idea to revitalize the downtown area. That was part of a downtown master plan that was put forth by, wait for it, community meetings, right? The people spoke, and that's why it's successful. We are a city as a result of our river, and then we've made every decision possible to go away from it. We used to store our rock salt down there. We used to have our garage where we kept all of our city trucks and did our oil changes there. Those are the best decisions of that time. That's not a criticism of those. But man, it can be better and different. And we're on the doorstep of delivering that. We only have 25% of the riverfront activated. And we've already had 1 million visits and $400 million worth of economic development. Toledo can. It always has when it got out of its own way.
I love everything that you just said. I absolutely love it. It takes the community, it takes our village to make this thing
That's right.
happen. And look at the results, you guys. The results are absolutely awesome. We are enjoying our parks. We are enjoying them in ways that we've never even thought we could before in the past. Matt, a personal question. Do you have a personal park that you prefer? Do you have a public park, I meant to say, that you prefer yourself? That's your favorite?
Yeah, I am contractually obligated to say, as all of my colleagues are, that we don't have a favorite park, but of course I do. I grew up walking over from Waldmar, which is 4 streets west of Wildwood. I grew up playing in that park. And actually, it's not one of our parks. It's stewarded by a dear friend, Joe Fosnaugh, with the city. Ottawa Park and Wildwood are my favorite parks. I have a ton of memories there of people who I love and miss. So those are my parks.
Sure, sure. Mine is my favorite is Mommy Bay. I love
Yeah.
anything by the water. I love that.
Yes.
So the fact that you all have opened up the water for us is absolute. Just it's a thrill for me because I love to be by the peacefulness of the water. But Mommy Bay State Park, and I also love the one downtown you guys just put down. It's a great
Yeah.
walking space. I take my mom there now. Obviously, it's nice and open.
Sure.
I've went to the Jazz Fest down off that
Yeah.
part. That everything down there is just absolutely mind blowing. So I can certainly see why we are ranking very, very high. As far as in competition with other states across the United States. So kudos to Metro Parks. That's what I have to say. Is kudos to you guys.
Back at
um,
you.
I thank you so much. We're really
Yeah.
I'm a little bit past time here. We're at a 6:40 hour. I am so happy that you were able to join me. Is there anything that you'd like to say in closing that we didn't cover today?
I don't think so. Like I said, you've got a park within 5 miles of your doorstep. If you're from Lucas County, I'll encourage you to visit. Hold us accountable. If there's something you need to see or have seen before that isn't up to your standards, we've got open ears and open phones. The gates open from dawn to dusk, 365. It's a pleasure to do that on your behalf. So, Deb, thank you for people like yourselves that are really the boots on the ground and are trying to do better for the greater. It's a pleasure to be on this show and call you a friend. So thank you.
I feel the same way about you, Matt. Gonna give a shout out to all the folks that work at Toledo Metric Parks. You guys do a wonderful, wonderful job. We'd be, really remiss if we didn't thank you all for the work that you do to keep our parks beautiful. My followers, anybody tuning in, even if you're not a follower and you're just a listener and you are a City of Toledo resident, please do consider voting for issue 8. It is to support our metro parks. It is to support keeping our metro parks beautiful. It's to support the work that goes into keeping these parks beautiful and clean, and the grass cut, and keep the garbage put away, and the patrolling of for our safety. It's for so many things that we actually need. It's for us, it's for Toledo, it is for us, you guys. So yeah, please do consider that. That's why I put this on tonight, because I want you guys to, maybe you didn't know issue 8 was on the ballot, but it's coming up here in May. So you need to really, and it's right around the corner. In fact, if you don't do anything else on the ballot, get down there and vote yes for 8.
Right.
To get vote yes for, I don't know about too many of the other issues, maybe one or two, but I do know about this one. And anything that concerns your community, you need to get involved. You need to make sure you have your input. You need to make sure that you have something to say and that it is heard. And this is how you make your voices heard.
We need the money
Okay.
to clean, we need the money to clean up after Deb's rentals.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, we made a mess, you guys. And then I left a note with Matt's name on it for him to clean it up, because I
Yeah,
wanted
yeah, yeah.
everybody to know that it was his job to come clean up after me.
Deb, great to see you. Thank you.
Great to see you. You know I love you. I appreciate you. So listen, everybody, we gotta wrap the show up tonight. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was informative for you. I'm getting tongue tied here because I've been on past my time. I hope you didn't. Nobody asked questions, because I have people that I see that are tuned in. So we must have been pretty effective in answering, some of the things that you all wanted to know. So if you have any questions, oh, what a beauty! Hey, baby girl. Hey, she's been waiting for him to get off the phone because she's ready to do some at home projects. She's a little creative little girl.
Yeah.
Um, but in the meantime, like I said, you guys, if you ask me any questions afterwards, I'll be sure to get online and try and get some of those answered for you. The main thing is I'm pushing for issue 8. It's on the of all 4 corners of my building over here.
Yes.
HBCAC is pushing it. Many people are supporting this, and if you're not, I'm not exactly sure why, but that's neither here nor there. If you're not supporting it, don't go to the parks. Um, and if you do, you're cheating because you didn't vote for it. However, and that's my opinion, not Matt's, it's mine. I'm clearly stating it. Anybody knows me knows I'm going to say what I feel. But thank you all for supporting. I do appreciate each of you. If you have any questions, get with me. You know how to reach me on Facebook, on Instagram, on Roku, and I'm over on YouTube as well. Meet me here, same place, same time next Thursday. We're gonna have another great discussion with you all. It is also from a Toledo native. Want to see each and every one of your faces. Hope you enjoy the weekend. Have a safe weekend, everybody, and we'll see you all next week. Have a great time. Bye bye.